Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good. Ruth, I hope others know they can join through all these people wait in the waiting. I hope they know they can join other platform. Hello, Ruth.
Yes, had others should YouTube. They have
Okay, for
started
YouTube.
streaming like
Okay then. So I think we should let's go ahead then. Yeah. At the last class, we started forecasting. We started forecasting trend in business. That was what we started. And let me just quickly do one or two recap, and then we will continue. We try to define forecasting in business. I remember, like I said, it's a systematic estimation of future events, or it has to do with projections. We talk about its estimation of a future occurrence, a projection or a prediction of what is going to happen, in the future. And I said, in order to make it has to be systematic. Systematic in the sense that there is an in-depth analysis. If it actually is involved, it's not something that is done through hunch or feelings. It involves an in-depth analysis of certain events in the past and also presently, because that's what will now aid us, or that's what will now help us in be able to make a projection into the future. And there, after the definition, we also look at importance of forecasting. We look at importance of forecasting. I remember we said, I remember I pointed out the fact that it assists in planning. That is, planning cannot be done without forecasting. I also talk about the fact that it brings accuracy when it comes to managerial decisions, as well as the fact that risk and uncertainty can be reduced to a very great extent. And finally, I mentioned the fact that a business can be saved from the impact of trade cycle through adequate forecasting. So today, we are going on to the process of business forecasting. The process, or the one I call procedure, how it is, how forecasting is carried out, the procedure. That's what we want to look at today. I think these people disturbing us should mute themselves now. Okay, so process of business forecasting is where we're going to start today, and I have about four steps here which we want to quickly look at. 4 steps. And the first one is to understand there is a need to first of all understand the problem. And what do I mean when I say understand the problem? I'm talking of the need to identify the objective of what you want to do. Whatever you want to do, there must be an objective at the back of your mind. What do you actually want to achieve? Because in business there are different parts of it. Which aspect that which objective that you actually want to achieve in the forecasting, because that's very, very bad. That's why a manager must know clearly the purpose of forecasting. He must know what is the purpose. Why do you want to do the forecasting? And it could be it could be that you want to forecast about your sales volume. It could be about sales volume. It could be with respect to the demand. You want to know the demand trend. You want to forecast about your demand in the future. It could be about revenue growth. It could be about inventory needs, your inventory. That is how soon you need to, how soon you need to replenish, how soon you need to, fix those, those products, those goods that, that are already bought. It could be any of the objective, could be any of, could be any of this. It could also be, based on the choice of people that you want to attend to, and so on and so forth. So that is the first thing. Need to identify your objective. You need to define. You need to understand what the problem that you actually want to solve. The second steps is to develop the groundwork. The groundwork. And in developing the groundwork, you need to understand. I've been saying something right from the beginning. The fact that if you want to forecast is actually based on your understanding of what happens in the past. Because if you don't have an understanding of your sales records in the past and what the sales record is now, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to be able to project what it will look like in the nearest future. And that's why under this developing the groundwork, you need to understand the changes that have occurred in the past so that you can make proper predictions for the future. It is what happens in the past that will help you. It is what happened in the past and what you are having now that will help you, that will form a sort of a springboard for you to be able to project, to be able to project into the future. So you have to use the past data on your performance to get the current rate of your sales or production and how fast this rate is increasing or decreasing. So these are things, these are the changes that you look at it. It can even be on a month-on-month basis. That is, what are the changes in your sales, your production, or the demand for your product. These are some of the things that will now help you to be able to. So that is the groundwork that you need to do to have that understanding, to have those, those data, to have them. The third step is to now select and analyze data collected, because sometimes there could be some of the data that may not really be useful, even from your past. That could be that sometimes they call some data, they call them outliers. Outliers in the sense that they are either too big or too little. Sometimes you need to remove all of those ones. So select all the data that are that are required. And then what do? Once you select those ones, you can now go ahead to do what? To analyze them. Analyze those data that you have collected. Analyze them. There's a definite relationship between the choice of statistical fact and figure and the determination of why business fluctuations have occurred. After selecting the data, they analyze in the light of past changes. Statistical tool can be used to analyze the data. So that is what you do. Once you have your data, once you have the ones you have selected, then the next thing is to analyze them. And the essence of analyzing it, because it is in the process of analyzing that you are now able to get information that will help you in your projection, that will help you in your forecasting, because it is the information. Analyzing data is not just for the purpose of analyzing it. It is to be able to get very good information from the analysis that will help you in your planning. And the fourth one, which is not on this, which I just is that
Okay, big Johnny.
Ruth, help me to be muting these people that are disturbing us. So there's also a need for you to choose the kind of model that you are going to use. We are going to look at that as we move on. The different kind of model that can be used for the analysis. There are different models that can be used. The final stage in this the procedure of business forecasting is actually to estimate the future event based on information obtained from the analysis of past data. Like I've told you, the essence of analysis is to have access to information. The purpose is to be able to derive information. It is that information that will now help you in making your projection, especially especially if you identify, because there is the possibility that you may identify some fluctuations, some changes in a particular time of the year. It's just like when we take, for instance, you can imagine people that are selling, cold drinks. Imagine the period of the year when it is raining, when it is very cold. The likelihood is that their sales volume will do what? Will drop. So in the process of analysis, you can identify those periods. So you know that during this period, there is likely that your sales volume will drop. There is likely that the degree of demand for your product will be reduced. These are information that you can derive from your analysis, and that will help you to know that at this point in time in a particular year, your level of production should be reduced, and on like that. So these are the this is the process of business forecasting. This is the process of business forecasting. Let's look at the types the types of forecasting. We have basically two types of forecasting. We have the implicit and then the explicit forecasting. And the implicit forecasting is a forecast that is made on basis of past experiences and intuition. And when we talk about intuition, intuition is just a hunch. Intuition is just a feeling, is a hunch. And because this approach is not systematic, like we have said at the beginning, this approach is not systematic, there is really no analysis, there is really no in-depth analysis at all. And that's why it is regarded as not being reliable and it is not accurate, because whoever is using this method is just basing it on experience and past experience, just basing it on feelings. Oh, this is how it's going to look like. But most times, because environment keeps changing, I know business environment is very dynamic. It keeps changing. There is a lot of fluctuations that you find. The fact, the fact that people decide to buy this product more at a particular point in time does not mean that it's going to remain like that continually. So it's not based on just experience. It's not based on hunch or feeling, but and that's why it is not reliable. That's why it is not accurate. But the other one, explicit forecasting, this one is systematic, and that's why it is more reliable. That is the one we have been talking about. It's more reliable, it is precise, it is accurate, and it is better than the implicit method. It is far, far better than the implicit method. So let's look at the techniques or the analytical techniques of forecasting. Now I told you, well, when we are looking at the process of business forecasting, we talked about selecting and then analyzing the data that has been selected. Those and analyzing your data, that data that is selected is, there are different techniques that can be used, and that is what we want to look at this place. What analytical techniques that can be used. There are so many. I'll just look at some here. I just look at some of them here, the analytical technique that can be used. The first one there is survey method. Survey or the field survey. That is the one that many of us are familiar with. That is what you find most of the time. I'm sure you have seen some people in the market. You see some even on the road. Sometimes they just give you, they give you a form. They ask you to fill for them. Sometimes it can even be online. Sometimes when they just want to quickly get some information from their prospective, buyer, prospective consumer. So it could be in the market, it could be on the road, it could be wherever they know that people who are actually, using their product where they are. So they can quickly do, that kind of a survey. You can quickly do a survey. And the essence of the survey is to collect information. The information could be, it could be a cross-sectional type. Sometimes it could be information about just yes or no. Sometimes it could be in terms of whether you are satisfied or not satisfied with their product. It could be that they want to collect information about what people what they are, the people consuming their product, what did they, what additional thing did they require. It cut across so many things regarding the attitude of people, which it could be. So the survey, like I said, cut across so many areas. The second one there, the second technique that can be used is the index number. The index number is a technique that indicates the direction in which the business is going. indicate the direction with the business is going, and it is used to study trend. They use it to study trend. And when I say trend, they want to know whether the demand for the product, whether it is always increasing or whether it is decreasing. Whether it's increasing, which time is it increasing, which time is it decreasing, and so on. It's also used to also study seasonal fluctuation and cyclical movement. Seasonal fluctuation, because we have different seasons. We have the hot, we have the cold, we have the time that is the rainy season and whatever. We have different seasons, and all these seasons, have effect on the demand of a particular product. It affects businesses in different ways. It affects businesses, in different way. Especially when you look at the season we are in, a rainy season, you can be sure that people that are producing, umbrella will sell more, because people need to actually cover themselves. People who are into production of cardigan and all of these products, definitely there will be increase in the in the demand. So why some businesses are having more demand, there are some other businesses also, during this season, the demand for their product definitely will come up. So this technique is used to study those trends. They use it to study fluctuation. Ditto also, whether in agricultural business, agribusiness or whatever, it affects it. That because when sales or demand for product is going up, that is help us to know when sales or demand for product, when it is going up and when it is coming down. That's what I'm explaining. You also use it to measure and compare changes in variables over time across different different location. They also use it, the index number is also used to measure changes in prices of goods. Prices of goods, changes in sales, changes in demand over time. Those are the things I've been explaining. Changes in prices, there are some products that at a particular season the prices goes up, especially when you talk about agricultural product. At the beginning of the year, the price of cassava was very high, but at a point, because the market because there is a glut in the market, many people are supplying into the market, the price start doing what? The price start coming down. So changes in the price and all of those things, it helps us to do that. The third one there is time series analysis. It's another technique, time series analysis. And I've talked about trend. In time series analysis, there is a need to have data that covers a long period of time. It's just like if you want to know, it's just like if you want to know, if you want to identify fluctuations in prices of a particular product, and if you can get data that covers 5 years, 10 years, this time series analysis can be used. There are applications that can be used to run it. Once it is run, it will show you the various fluctuation, the period of the year where the price is going up, the period of the year the price is coming down, and from there you can deduce, the period of the year when you need to produce more, and the period of the year when you need to produce less. That's why the time series analysis is also very, very important. The other one is regression analysis. These are very, very technical techniques. They are very, very technical. If somebody does not know how to use them, it may be difficult, but like I said, there are applications that can be used. So the regression analysis is also another technique that can be used. And what regression and in regression analysis, what they are using it to do is just to estimate the relationship between a dependent variable and one or more independent variable. Just want to look at relationship. Want to look at relationship between price and then sales. So the price, sales will now be the, dependent variables. You now want to look at how does price, changes in prices at different at different time of the year, how does it affect this, the sales volume? Want to look at, those are two variables, sales volume and then prices. Those are two variables that you can look, that they can now look at how they are related. Is it that as price is going up, people are buying more? Or is it that as price is going up, people are buying less? So that is a type of regression analysis. It's just to look at relationship existing between dependent variables and one or more independent. That's a simple regression analysis I've just explained. In multiple regression analysis, we have so many other independent variables. It's not just only price. We may also look at, the other, or we may also take into consideration so many other variables. And then from there, you can now know which of all those variables actually impact more on the volume of your sales. The other one there is econometric model. Econometric model is like an umbrella model for some of these. When you talk of regression analysis is a type of econometric model. That is one they call analysis of variables ANOVA. It's also a form of econometric model. We have some other ones, they call them 2-bit logit model. All of them, they are all analytical techniques, and they are all all econometric model, because they are actually measuring relationship that exists among economic variables, and all of them can help us to forecast future development. The last one there is input-output analysis. Like the word there, input, and then output analysis. The input, could be expenditure, that is your expenditure, and your output can be your, what you produce or your receipt. You can also look at the relationship between the two. And then from there, you can also have, that is what you are putting in and what you are getting out. It's like what you are putting into the production and the output you are getting out of it. You can also use it, relationship between them can also help in understanding, can also help, as a form of analysis to be able to forecast future occurrence. So these are the various techniques of forecasting. So we want to look at the choosing a suitable forecasting technique, because these analytical techniques, they are not all applicable in all situations. They are not all applicable. So want to see at what condition do you choose a particular technique. The following must be considered in choosing a suitable business forecasting technique. The number one there is the time frame or the time pattern. The time frame is the number one, that the time frame. You need to consider the forecasting that you want to do. What is the time frame? For how long is it going to take? Is it going to be a week? Is it going to be a month or a year? Or is it going to be 5 years, 10 years? and more. So the time frame, the time pattern, that's what that is saying. Because that will now determine the kind of techniques that you are going to use. If you want to carry out, if your forecasting is going to last many years, 5 years, 10 years, then you need to use, you remember the method I mentioned, time series analysis. Time series analysis will become very, very, will become very, very suitable. The time series analysis becomes very, very suitable. But if it's something that is going to be a week, a month, and things like that, then you don't need to go into that. You can just go ahead and use your field survey, your field survey, your field, your survey method. That one can be used. So the longer the time period, the more difficult the forecasting becomes, and the more useful it becomes. Very, very important, to use some other economic models for your analysis. So that's the time frame. The second one is the cost of forecasting. The cost, because forecasting can be very, very costly, because most time, even if you are using field survey, you will discover that those enumerators you are using to go out for you, to go and do field survey for you, you have to pay them. You have to use, sometimes you will need also to print so many questionnaires and what have you. So it's not cheap. It can also be very, very expensive. So cost of forecasting also. So depend on the cost of collecting and storing the data. So if 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 the cost is going to be very, very high, then that also will need to be taken into consideration. You need to take that into consideration and see the one that will be cheaper for you, to use. The number three is the accuracy that is required. The accuracy that is required. If you want to come up with results that are very, very accurate, then some of these economic model I've mentioned, becomes very, very useful. That the regression analysis, which I talked about. I talked about some of these other, the time series analysis. Sometimes you may ended up using correlation analysis. Some of these other methods become very, very useful, depending on the accuracy that required. The last one there is the availability of data. That is the data that is available. Data that is available will also determine the kind of techniques. If you have good data available, then these econometric models become very, very, because it will do a very good analysis for you. But if you don't have data, if data is not available, then that means that you have to go to the field to go and collect the data. But if data is available, then some of these other regression analysis, these different input-output analysis will become very, very useful, become very, very useful. So those are the things required for, some of the things that must be considered in choosing a suitable forecasting technique. Let's look at the final part, the final part of this topic. That is limitation of forecasting. As good as forecasting may be to us, it has its limitation. To every advantage, there are also disadvantages. To every advantage, there are also disadvantages also. There are limitations of forecasting. And let me just quickly go through them. The number one there is that forecasting is based on assumptions. A lot of assumption has to be. That's why even in economics sometimes, you always hear ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus is saying that all things being equal, And sometimes things are not always equal. There are changes that happens in the environment, changes that were not planned for at the beginning, but you assume that so and so are in place. So and so will not happen. So a lot of assumptions comes into play. And when those assumptions, once they are faulty, or when those assumptions, when they are not well, when they are not put in the right perspective, it can result in getting wrong results. That's why if the assumption is faulty, if the human judgment, if it is faulty, then definitely wrong results will be gotten at the end of it. So that's it, and that's a major limitation. The second one there is the uncertainty of the future. Like you all know, the future cannot be predicted at 100%. There is no how you can. When you consider what happened during COVID 2020, nobody, as at 2019, nobody knew that there is going to be a lockdown. Nobody could see ahead. Many people could not see ahead that we are going to have such a situation. And that's why it affected so many, especially most businesses that were unable to adjust quickly. It affected them. It affected so many nations. It affected so many people because of the uncertainty of the future. It is a prediction of future events, but there is uncertainty of occurrence of such events. Sometimes it may not even be as a result of, like what happened during COVID. It could be as a result of changes in government policy. Prior to the coming of Tinubu, when you compare pre-Tinubu and post-Tinubu, I'm sure you agree with me that there have been so many changes. Many people did not expect that on the day of his inauguration, he was going to say subsidy is gone. Nobody knew. But that day when he says subsidy is gone, that was a major shift in government policy. When he said, when he said that this dual exchange market will not exist anymore, I'm now unifying them. There is no difference between the black and the the normal government exchange rate. So these two major policies of the government brought about a major shift in our economy, and that's what we are still experiencing. That is what we are, everybody is still complaining about even up to today, and that's and that's why they say the uncertainty of the future. So sometimes you cannot predict the future accurately, and it's a major limitation. The third one is lack of skills of expert. Lack of skills of expert. Forecasting itself is a science, and the success of it depends largely on how skillful whoever is doing. So it depends largely on how skillful whoever is carrying it out. If the person doing it is not skillful, there's likely there will be errors. And if you don't have people who can handle it very well, it can also be a major limitation, because we don't have skilled experts that can handle it. The fourth one is lack of reliable information. Proper forecasting needs adequate and reliable information. I told you that if you want information, you can obtain information from the analysis of your data. So if data are not well analyzed, there is also the likelihood that you will also not be able to deduce the right information. You will not be able to. So once reliable information is not available, then proper forecasting becomes very difficult, because you need to understand what has happened in the past. You need you need to have a very good grasp of what is happening now, and these are the things that you are now going to use, in projecting into the future. So if those things are not available, then it also becomes very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult. And sometimes it is difficult to collect reliable data. And once there is no reliable data, and once those data are not, and when those data are not, when those data are not also properly analyzed, also you'll not be able to get the right information that you can use. The fifth one there is time and cost factor. You remember I mentioned the fact that forecasting is very, very costly, because it's costly in the sense that it is very costly to collect data, to collect data. Not just only the cost, it also involves a lot of time. It involves a lot of time. It involves a lot of money. It involves a lot of time, a lot of money. And that's why forecasting is both expensive, it's both expensive, and it's also time consuming, because collection of data is not cheap. It's not cheap. Even analysis sometimes also is also not cheap. So it requires money, it requires time. And those things can also end up being a limitation, because of the fact that it's very costly. People may not be, may not be favorably, ready to actually carry out the correct, the correct analysis as a result of that. And the last one there is ever-changing business environment. Ever-changing business environment is another limitation. I've mentioned that business environment is very, very dynamic. It's always changing. It's not static. It's always changing, ever changing. And that's why it becomes very, very difficult to predict accurately, 100%, what is going to be, especially when you also consider the fact that government policies keep changing. Tomorrow, the CBN may come up with another policy. I'm sure you remember the aspect of the new tax law, the new tax law that came into existence this year. Though they have been mentioning it, but when the thing came into operation, so many organizations needed to make changes. They to make changes, when it comes to some of the things that they are doing. So these are the things that brings about the dynamics in the environment, and these are some of the things that that makes forecasting, that brings about limitation when it comes to forecasting. So as far as this topic, this is where we're going to stop, and let me if you have questions, let me know if there are. Let me check the chat if there is any question, or if you have any question, you can identify and ask a question. Any question?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Farmer Olusoji from Business Admin.
Okay.
So my question is just on this limitation of forecasting, like the assumption aspects. I think is that falling we have two types of forecasting, which you said is the explicit and the implicit forecasting. So
Yeah.
I think in this case where you're having a faulty assumption, is that falling under the the implicit?
Even it will apply to the two of them. Like I told you, the implicit one. The implicit is when you are simply depending on your past experiences. You are depending on, it's like a hunch. You just believe that this thing that's likely going to be. It's not based on any data you have analyzed. It's not based on any data. It's not based on it's not systematic. There is no analysis at all. It just based on your whims and caprices, just based on your feelings and
Emotions.
things like your just hunch like that.
Okay.
So that itself is an assumption. But even the explicit one, that is even systematic, that is where we have an in-depth analysis. What I'm saying, that even those one also, there are still assumptions. It is assumed that things are going to work in a particular way. But because the business environment is dynamic, always changing, the likelihood, and I gave you an example. Imagine, imagine the shock to so many people when Tinubu says subsidy is gone. That was a major shift. Nobody, as at that particular point in time, nobody, all the various business plan, nobody, there was nobody that actually takes that into consideration at all. Nobody takes into consideration. But immediately that was, immediately he actually, made that announcement. So many things changed, so many things. It affected so many things. Or when you want to talk about what happened, in 2020, the COVID era, nobody knew that there was going to be that. It was not part of the thing that businesses factored into their, into their operations. Most people will have thought that 2020 is going to be just like any other year, but unfortunately, that was not the case. So that's why I said that sometimes some of our assumptions that are put in place may not be correct, may not. And once those assumptions are faulty, definitely it will affect the final result at the end of the day.
Thank you, sir.
I saw somebody talking about explicit forecasting, which I think I've also explained the process. I've also explained that. That is the forecasting that is based on, data analysis. It is it is not based on feelings at all. Feelings is not it's systematic, like I said, and it is reliable. It's reliable because that forecasting is based on your ability to analyze past events and then use it to make projection for the future. Do we still have any question?
Sir, please help us with the first slide.
Which first slide?
Definition of forecasting.
No, I'll give you the whole slides. So after this, I'll send it to your.
Okay.
I'll give it to I'll give it to your class governor, so you can get it from her.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure whether we are still going to have another. I'm not sure we are still going to have another virtual class. But if not, it's likely we are going to have a physical class. We'll be looking at economic indices. That's what we'll go into. I cannot go into details now because our time is fast spent. But that is what we are going to look at, economic indices, or what is called. Oh, I should tell you about the new tax. That's a big topic on itself. If I had to start to talk about that now, that would be a big topic. Is that I cannot. But I think the major thing there, the major things about the new tax, the major core things about the new tax, if you have listened to the chairman of that particular committee, who happens to be the new minister for finance now, the major thing is that they are looking for the government is looking for means of being able to bring more people into the tax net, and as much as possible, take some people out of it, especially people who are not earning as much as the new minimum wage. That is, if your income is less than the new minimum wage, they are now exempted from paying tax. That is a very key aspect, that they are exempted from paying tax. One other major aspect of it is also that some of the small and medium scale enterprises also, especially those that are I think those that are making less than, I think they are making less than, is it 100 million now, something like that, they have also been exempted. So what government is doing with the new tax law is that they are trying to tax, they are making the tax, they are making it to be progressive in the sense that they are taxing more the rich and they are taxing less the poor. That's a major pointer of the new tax. They're trying to tax more, especially companies, big companies that are making more money. They are going to pay more. They're going to pay more tax now compared to other business organizations that are making less, that are making less profit. Apart from that, there are some other what is it called now? There are some other investments which in the past are not required to pay any tax. I will give you an example. If you take, for example, people who are into what is it called now, who are investing in treasury bills. In the past, they are not if you are investing in treasury bill in the past, you don't pay. I'm sure you understand what I mean when I say treasury bills. It's a government. It's a bill made available by the federal government, and people. It's a means by which the federal government raise money from the circulation. So once we invest into it, it varies. It varies in terms of amount. It varies in terms of months, and it has its rates. Its rate is released actually by CBN. The rate of it, if you are doing for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, the rate differs, and then the amount also. So in the past, people don't pay any tax on it. People don't really pay. But now government is saying whatever returns you make in it, you are going to pay 10%. So these are some of the things that you find in the new tax law. Like I said, is a really is something that is so can tax be a limitation to forecasting? No, no, no. It cannot really be a limitation. It can only add to whatever you are. It can only add to whatever you are going to be paying at the end of the day. So can you briefly show the definition of implicit forecasting? I think I've explained that already. I've explained that. So I think I've checked the chart. I think I've actually explained the various questions, on the chart. Do I still
No
have
noise,
any?
no noise, no noise.
Do I still have any? Like I said, as I tried
Exam.
to. Are you
Me
asking questions
title.
or?
Ewa.
Promise, mute yourself. You are disturbing us. You are disturbing us. So like I said, we will be looking at economic indices, or what we call economic indicators. And some of the things we'll be considering will be consumer price index, because they are microeconomics indicators, or indicators that are used to measure the how healthy an economy is, whether the economy is doing well or whether the economy is not doing well. I'm going to look at some of them, about 7 or 8 of those indicators. I'm going to look at inflation. I'm going to look at consumer price index. I'm going to look at we're going to look also at GDP. You know, most times when you hear the government, you say, "Oh, our GDP is growing." Yes, our GDP is growing, but of what impact is it to the people? GDP is growing, but unemployment is also increasing. We're going to also look at balance of trade, our external debt, the ease of doing business, terrorism index. So these are indicators we are going to consider when we look at the the economic indicators, or those micro economic indices we're going to consider. That's going to be at the next class. I don't know whether it's going to be during the physical class or if we still have. Oh, you said you don't think the topics in the module. Who told you that? You can take your module very well. Because I actually wrote that aspect of the module, the economic indices. So you cannot say it's not in the module. Go and check very well. It's there in the module, and it was part of the section that I actually handled. So, Ruth, I don't know when we're going to have the next class, but let me know if it's going to be physical or it's going to be virtual. Let me know. Is Ruth hearing me? Like I said, I will send the forecasting. I will send it to your class governor so that you can all have access to it. I'll send it to her. Is Ruth hearing me? It looks like Ruth is not hearing. Okay. I think we will call it a day.
To make Eva.
It's going to do what? Okay, no problem. Let's call it a day. We'll meet next, whether it's virtual or whether physical. We'll meet.
I think it's physical, sir. Thank you so
Thank you,
much
sir.
for
It
your
will be
time.
physical,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay, no problem then. Okay.
Next week is
Fine. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your
And you
weekend.
too,
You
boss.
too, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you so much, sir. We really enjoy your life.
Thank you, sir. God bless you, sir.
Thank you.
It's me speaking. Thank you, sir.
You are welcome. You are welcome. Thank you.
This is Thank you, sir.
You're
It's
welcome.
me speaking. Thank you, sir.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Who is speaking?
It's me speaking. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. It's okay. Thank you.
Speaking.
Who is speaking?
Ó ti tó òun ní báyìí.
Speaking.
Òun ní speaking is enough. O.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
If like say you don't put down for to repeat.
It's
Yeah.
me speaking.
Uh-uh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Keep it up. I'm on match day this night, so you know they watch ball.
Oh,
Next class, next class.
Carry on the next class.
Next class will start in the next 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, now carry on. Start it before the lecturer come.
Yay! Oh, double. Bye.